Hello guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. On today's episode, I wanted to talk about the best decks for climbing Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel in whenever, well, I guess by the time this comes out, with the new cards from the most recent set. That being Pearly Makonko and the new Galaxy stuff, and just kind of like overall what the meta is going to be post-ban list, post-new pack. Now, granted, this is a predictive list, so I could be very wrong, and that's okay. Anyway, let's quickly hop into this, because I got a lot of decks here to talk about. We're not going to talk extensively about all of them, we're just going to quickly go over them. Honestly, Galaxy isn't here, I'm going to tell you right now. However, right at the start, Galaxy would probably be in everything else. It's just not going to be all that great. It still has the same issues. Yes, some of the cards help with consistency. Yes, the new boss monster is nice, but it doesn't really change the fact that the deck is still inconsistent quite a bit, and it still doesn't really do much. It kind of has to go second, which already is a not great spot for it. And it's not like it's going to do a lot better going second, because the new boss monster is nice because it's like unaffected and stuff like that, but you still have to get there to that boss monster. So all in all, the new cards are nice. They're going to help it significantly, but I really don't think that it's that step above to even put it into Rogue, which is where it's like, hey, it could actually compete. Maybe bottom of Rogue, probably just like around everything else. So there's that. Starting off here with 8-Axis. 8-Axis it's a fine deck. It's good at going second. It has the ability to it also can utilize the new Galaxy Eyes boss monster. So there's that to help OTK more efficiently. However, unlike Galaxy, or more specifically the Photon Galaxy stuff, it actually does have the ability to pretty consistently deal with opponents' boards because of things like Alpha, Master of Beasts, Alpha, I believe, with the Kaijus, with the like going second options that it has available to it, and obviously Galaxy Eyes can do that. It's just less consistent. So this is just the more consistent version of Galaxy Eyes. That's it. That's the biggest difference. It kind of does the same things, and it OTKs in very similar capacities. Also, Galaxy Eyes really didn't need an OTK option, so the fact that it got it didn't really matter. Moving on, we have ABC. ABC Therion is actually still pretty good. I'm going to put it slightly above in Rogue tier, but it's like at the bottom of Rogue. I still don't think that 8-Axis is very good, so there's that. I think 8-Axis is a little bit better, or like rank 8 Turbo, I think is a little bit better than ABC, but not by much. Adamantimator is pretty bad. Even with the Block Dragon ban, though, I still feel like this deck has quite a bit of teeth to it. It still can do similar things in terms of its end board. It's just a lot more fragile in the way that it functions because it doesn't consistently do that. You still have the Verniselves to allow for some pretty good end boards. You're still able to set up, like Baguska, as well as maybe some other cards. It's just less consistent and isn't as broken because of Block Dragon. Next up, we have Tenyi. This is just Tenyi because I know that there is a Sword Soul in here somewhere. So, Tenyi exists. I don't know what to do with this one. No one actually plays just pure Tenyi. The pure Tenyi cards are good, but honestly, yeah, they're pretty low. Altergeist is pretty bad. I'm actually going to move ABC down. Altergeist is just mid. Don't really know what to say. It's just mid. Next up, we have ourselves the Amazement. There are new cards, technically. They kind of helped, but I really don't feel like the deck still does anything. It feels very much so like you just kind of have to get lucky with the exact cards that you see, because if you don't see Arlecchino or the new Arlecchino, you kind of still just die. There's not really a whole lot that you do in that deck. Ancient Warriors are fine. They're similar in nature, I would say, to Galaxy Eyes. So they're not exceptional, but they're not terrible. They can steal a lot of games because you mostly go second. Yeah, that's basically it. Beat Troopers. Yeah, I don't have anything for this. They're just... I mean, Invincible Atlas is cool. And Sting Lancer is also a cool card. Being able to, you know, basically... It's kind of a Bestial. But, I mean, you could also just play the Bestials, which more or less do the same thing. So, I don't know. It's... whatever. Blue Eyes is bad. Black Wings are... How bad are Black Wings? Are they Rogue? I'm going to put them in Rogue. Below 8-axis. Because this deck is so inconsistent. You really do kind of die to a single hand trap like Ash, Maxi, Imperm, etc. And you don't really have space to play non-engine because you need as much consistency as you can get. So you can't play hand traps yourself. If you go first, the deck's fine sometimes. It's like around 50-50. But going second is a nightmare because it's not like you have that many threatening cards. And if they stop you on like a single card, sometimes you just die. So, not great. Branded. Branded is pretty well positioned, honestly. Yeah, losing the one Branded Fusion mattered, but honestly it didn't matter that much because you still have access to the full line, and you're also able to recur the Branded Fusion pretty consistently. So honestly, losing the one Branded Fusion didn't really matter. This is the first deck that I genuinely think is a good deck. I just want to make sure that Dragon Link is on here. Because if it's not, we'll use this guy. Yeah, Dragon Link is on here. Okay. Yeah, Branded is here. Chilling, doing cool things. This is Chaos. Chaos received some new stuff. Honestly, it's still not great. It's still good because, you know, Chaos Ruler is a good card. But it's, again, just kind of like a high roll. Hope that your opponent is on like a bad deck or a deck that loses to the Chaos stuff. And pray. Moving on, we have Transcode. Transcode, what are you here for? Are you supposed to be Math Mech or are you just Cyber Stuff? Cyber Stuff did get the new Dark Fluid. Is that what it's called? The Neo Firewall Dragon Dark Fluid? I don't know. I swear Math Mech was on here. Am I crazy? You're probably screaming at me saying, it's right there, or something along those lines, but I'm really not seeing it. Okay, I don't see it, so we're going to use this as Math Mech. Math Mech's still good. I don't think it's crazy, but I think it's fine. I think it's pretty well positioned in the current metagame because of Dark Fluid being able to actually do stuff. But the problem is, like, Bestials are very, very good right now. Both Branded and Dragon Link, which are two of the best decks right now, are very well positioned, and they all play Bestials, so that's not great for Math Mech. But all things considered, I still think that Math Mech has a pretty decent matchup overall against the rest of the metagame, and even with Bestials, I still think that they have the ability to play through them pretty effectively, so it's not like the end of the world, it's just not great. So yeah, that's more or less it. This card is literally banned. I don't think this is for Master Duel, I'm not gonna lie, but that's okay. Moving on, we have Cyber Dragon. Cyber Dragon's just mid. DDD as well is pretty mid. Although, because this is specifically King Kali Yuga and not actually DDD, this could also be considered, like, whatever combo variant of Raid Raptor or Lunalight or Blackwing that you want to have it be that just ends on the rank up Magic Force guy into this guy. And if that is the case, it's still bad. Yeah, it's just combo turbo. Dark Magician is not great, I'm not gonna lie. Danger. So technically a pure Danger deck is not very good. I guess this is Danger Dark World, because I'm not seeing a Dark World on here. So we'll consider Danger Dark World. Danger Dark World is something. They can technically hand loop you. It's not very effective because it doesn't do it very often because of the banning of Silva. So it's not exceptional. So oftentimes what I see Dark World to do is just spin their wheels and do nothing. Now granted, they can do a lot because they put a lot of materials onto the field so they can make a whole bunch of link monsters and stuff like that, but honestly they just kind of lose to themselves half of the time. Either they just draw terribly or they draw incredibly and it doesn't matter. So it's, I don't know, I'm gonna put them in Rogue, probably above Blackwings, but not by much. Dinos. I'm going to put Dinos in tier 2. I think that they're good. They're really good for climbing, specifically because of the fact that they can both set up going first, as well as play through end boards going second very efficiently because of things like Miscellaneousaurus, basically preventing them from actually interacting with the opponent and stuff like that. However, because of Maxi, they oftentimes, like, interacting with them isn't as important because you can just maxi and then, you know, if they go first, you just kind of punch them really hard on the crackback. So it's really not that big of a deal. But all things considered, still a very strong deck and really good for going second. Next up, we have Dinomorphia. It's fine. I don't have anything to say. It's fine. Drytron. I guess this technically isn't Drytron, it's technically Herald, but I don't think Drytron's on here, so we'll just consider this Drytron. Drytron's not great because of Bestials, but it's still decent because it just can win the game because of stuff. Dragon Maid's not good. Dragon Maid's not good. That's it. Dragon Maid's not good. Turns out 1 negate pass is just not enough. So many decks can play through that. Umi Control, or Umi Stun, is a deck that happens to exist and is inconsistent. True Draco. Dear Lanta, I want this deck to be good. I have not played this deck because it's so incredibly expensive. So almost out of spite, I want to put this as low as possible. However, I genuinely just believe that this deck is not good. It's not. It's not. Kashtira exists and can lock a zone, and as soon as it locks a singular pendulum zone, you lose. On the spot. Immediately. So there's that. Also, the deck's just, like, not enough. It doesn't really play well into Maxi, etc. So, Dragon Link! Dragon Link is probably the best deck right now. I still believe that. I said this in the last tier list, and I'm going to say it again. But yeah, Dragon Link is incredibly strong. It's in a really well-positioned state in the metagame. So, yeah. It didn't really lose anything on the previous ban list. I don't think anything's really coming for its throne. I still think that it's incredibly strong. And was, even prior to tier getting hit, arguably top 5, probably top 3 best decks in the game, especially for climbing. I do think that it's a little bit difficult and does have some issues, mostly with like deck building, but all in all, I still think that this deck is very strong. Eldritch is slept on, that's all. Endymion. Endymion's a fine pendulum deck, but not great. Flu is actually still pretty good. Mostly because you can play Pachycephalo and then you just normal summon it and then your opponent can't play the game, and not everyone has an out to that card. In fact, most people don't. At least not a clean out, so there you go. Goaty sucks, I'm not gonna lie. It's just not good. It's mostly inconsistent. I'm gonna put it in Rogue. It's not bad, but it's very inconsistent. This is Stun. Stun exists. This is also Stun. Stun exists. This is also... This is like combo Stun. I don't know. I'm just going to put it here. Hero is... fine. It's okay. It does some things here. It does some things there. I don't know what you want me to say about Hero. It's Hero. You know what Hero does. It hasn't changed in like years. Since the release of DPE, it has not changed. I guess that's not years in Master Duel time, but still, you get the point. It doesn't really change. It's there, doing its thing. That's all. Moving on, Adagnister. Adagnister is literally just MathMech, or Cyber's stuff. I'm going to put it right next to it. Infernity. Okay, Alistair the Invoker is Alistair the Invoker. I feel like I can't put this below Rogue, so it's going to go into Rogue, but it doesn't see play. Kashtira. Kashtira's in a weird spot right now, because turns out being able to just, like, control the duel because of Fenrir and how absolutely absurd this card is, honestly, is sometimes just enough. I'm still gonna put it in tier. I'm gonna put it in tier 2. It's good. It's more so now a control deck instead of like a combo deck. But all in all, it's still not great. Rank 8 Turbo is nice, but being able to go like Diablosis doesn't really matter when there are a myriad of options in the extra deck now, and you don't just need one option. So yeah, being able to banish a single card kind of doesn't really matter. However, sometimes you're able to go like Unicorn into Diablosis, and then you're able to rip like 3 cards out of the opponent's deck. But that's rare. That's rare. Labyrinth. I think Labyrinth is pretty well positioned in the current metagame because no one is really prepared for it because there are a million decks that are really good right now. So yeah, Labyrinth just kind of is one of the better decks, mostly due to the fact that no one can specifically prepare for any one individual deck because there are 10 other decks that would eat them alive if they did. So you can't really play like Red Reboot or something along those lines. So there you Also, it's just a good deck and has been for a while. Live Twin is here. This is rank 8 turbo. Literalist Tri Brigade. Honestly, I don't know why, but this deck is just good again. I couldn't tell you why, but it just does stuff. It never really lost that, but it's actually just pretty well positioned. Mostly, I think, due to the fact that triple tack is very good right now, and this deck abuses it brilliantly. Being able to actually triple tack your opponent is super good in this deck and gets you so much advantage because drawing a single card is super strong because this deck doesn't really have that and it's not really balanced around being able to draw cards. So there's that. Also being able to like steal a card or being able to look at the opponent's hand, all very great. On top of that, the fact that you're not having to play through things like tier or sprite endboards as consistently means that you're able to play through more decks consistently because negates, or more specifically, like a lot of interactions tended to be a problem and not as powerful of interactions because their monsters don't really care about powerful interactions when they're all weenies. Anyway, I don't know. I really don't know why this deck is good, but it is, and I'm going to put it above Kashtira because I really do believe that it is better than Kashtira for climbing. I think Kashtira is just inconsistent. This deck is not as inconsistent, and that's the biggest thing. Anyway, moving on. Earth Machine is... I don't know here. I don't know. Madolche. I'm just going to put it in everything else. I really don't know. I'm also going to put Goaty down here, and Chaos, and Eldritch, and Blackwing. Hero, you can be literally the bottom of Rogue. Marincess. Marincess is just more cyber stuff. It basically does the exact same thing, just slightly worse. Makonko. New deck is just Numeron 2.0. It's just Numeron. That's all that it does. It's just going to OTK you, and that's mostly where it's going to see anything. Do I think that this will shake up the top of the metagame, or what's actually meta, aka the most effective tactics available? No. However, I do think you will see it. I just don't think it will be very good. That's all. I don't think it's something you need to prepare for. Hey, speaking of which, the same thing with Numeron. These are the same decks. That's all. Now, granted, Makonko can actually do some other things because of, like, Libromancer stuff and yada yada. You're just going to play the OTK. That's fine. It's whatever. No one cares. Mad Max. It's not Mad Max. It's a Magical Musketeer. Orchist, honestly, has gotten a bit better, and there are still variants of Orchist that work. Orchist is good. You can play Mech Knight Orchist, etc. Orchist is fine. Now with 3 Gearsu. Pendulum. Pendulum's good. Okay, Pendulum's okay. I'm not going to talk about these because they're bad, and we know this. Phantom Knights are rogue at best. I don't know. They do something, I'm sure. They do something, I'm sure. Plunder. Plunder is still slept on. I still believe that Plunder is one of the best decks in the current metagame, or in any metagame, because it is just good. I just don't know why people aren't playing it. But yeah, I'm honestly biased, but I'm going to put it down here. Plunder's still good. That's all. Next up we have Prank Kid. I still think that people are sleeping on Prank Kid. Prank Kid Adventure is still out there. You can still play the DPE stuff, and now with Kashtira, it becomes even better because you can now use the Kashtira stuff alongside the Adventure stuff, alongside the Prank Kid stuff, and you can basically just play like a pile of stuff with Prank Kid as like an engine to be able to like pop additional cards, or have that double Raigeki, or have the Roaring Roaster to... is it Roaring Roaster? I believe it is. To have that Harpy's Feather Duster at quick effect speed. So all in all, just a good deck. And yes, the one Meow Meow Mew kind of matters, but not really. And I mean, I guess it matters because of Kashtira stuff. And so, you know, you can your opponent could potentially shut you down by going into Diablosis on the first turn, but like, Ogi, who cares? Yeah, for the most part, I still think that this deck is pretty good. Next up, we have Punk. Punk is actually really pretty good, mostly because of cash. But even with that being said, I still think that their end boards are kind of mid. Doesn't have a problem going second. But again, because of Kashtira, they're a little bit better, but that's more so because of Kashtira cards and not necessarily because of Punk cards. But all in all, I think Punk's fine. Maybe I'll put them in tier 1.5. I think that they're good. I don't know, maybe I just see them too much. I don't actually think that they're good. I think that they can do stuff. We'll put them in 1.5. That just makes the most sense. This is happening right after the pack just came out. I'm now recording this. I actually recorded the previous section prior to the pack being released, and some notable inclusions are now actually in the game that I wasn't expecting to be in the game. And so because of that, a placement is going to change. Pearly got Sleepy Memory, as well as, most importantly, Perlily. Perlily changes the way that the deck actually functions quite a bit. Now, granted, we don't have Noir, but that does actually give us the ability to basically make Noir a lot more consistently, because we actually have the most consistent option in Pearly. So because of that, I'm actually going to move my previous ranking of Pearly, which I believe was in Rogue tier. Where is it? There it is. And we're going to move it clear up here to, maybe tier 1. I'm going to put it in... Yeah, it's absolutely tier 1. That's how big of a difference those two individual cards, which we didn't have previously announced, are. Yeah, this deck is going to be good. It's going to be good, period. That's basically all that I have to say. It's now going to be at least consistent, which I think previously was its biggest fault. Not having the Perlily. It also gives us the ability to actually have that secondary Xyz monster more easily, due to having that second monster just more easily summonable. So now you can go for the Pearly as well as the Perlily, and then you also have access to that second Xyz monster for Leap if you need to, and it just kind of like solves a lot of the issues with the Pearly archetype, or not the archetype, but the strategy. So having Sleepy Memory as well as having the Perlily means that, yeah, it's genuinely that good of a... Anyway, Raid Raptor stuff. Runic is good. This is weird. Runic is an engine. Runic has been used as an engine in basically everything. So I'm going to count this as Runic Stun more so than anything. And Runic Stun is fine. It's okay. It's a stun deck. It's probably the best stun deck, but it's still a stun deck. It doesn't really do a whole lot, even in a best of one. Salamangreat, honestly, is still pretty slept on, I would also say. I'm going to put it up here next to Orcust. I think that they basically do similar things. Scareclaw's fine. It's good. I don't have anything to say about it. It's just, it does its thing. It's not great. It's not bad. Sky Striker. Sky Striker, Sky Striker, Sky Striker. Sky Striker is so bad. It's better than Pearly, but not by much. What is the name of this deck? Speedroid. Speedroid. Yeah, there you go. Sprite is still very strong. Probably 4th. Sprite's still very strong and has various different builds that you can go for, hybrid builds that you can go for. Yes, you are losing out on the Jet, which matters, and you're also losing out on Swap Frog, which means a more pure or like more Sprite-focused build isn't as good. But I've seen people even just still playing the one Swap Frog and playing like Dupe Frog and such, and still basically playing the same list, except instead of playing multiple Jets and stuff like that, they're playing like triple Red and double Carrot and stuff like that. So there are options, but honestly, Runic for higher Sprite. Sorry. Yeah, Runic for higher Sprite. Sprite, Melfi stuff. Tri-Brigade Sprite. Live Twin Sprite. All good options. Oh, and of course, Runic Sprite. Just pure Runic Sprite. Or regular Runic Sprite. So, yeah, there are still a ton of options available to you in Runic. Or in Sprite. So, yeah, it's still alive. Spiral is a combo deck that dies to basically everything, but it's still good. It still ends on insane boards and really can play through quite a bit sometimes. Skull Servant is a deck. Guru's a deck. Sword Soul! Sword Soul is very well positioned. I don't want to... Is it tier 1? I think it is. I think it's top 5. I think it's right behind Sprite in terms of power level at the current moment. Being able to go for Protoss Call Dark is nice. It's always nice. It's always very good. However, it's more so the fact that it has the ability to go first and second so well, and kind of play through boards with just engine pieces. On top of that, it also has the ability to set up pretty decent boards. I mean, Cheng Ying is a powerhouse that not a lot of decks can deal with, especially paired with Chi You also have the ability of like setting up a Baron Negate if you need to. Blackout is insanely powerful as well. Again, you also have Protoss called Dark, so there's all of that stuff. But all in all, still one of the better decks. Synchron is... Thunder Dragon. Thunder Dragon's honestly pretty good, but mostly because of like Dragon Link stuff. Tier. Okay, I ranked Tier a little bit too high. I think I put it like top 5 or something like that. I don't think it's that high anymore. I'm gonna put it lower than Kashtira, but not by much. I think Tier mostly has to adapt by what else it plays, and mostly is now used as an engine in things like Branded or in Punk or in whatever else wants to mill cards to the graveyard. I still think it's great, and I still think it's very strong, and I think that in the future, when we get things most notably like Kashtira Tier, I think that the deck will become significantly better. The deck is by far not dead, but it's not as good. Therions. Therions exist. Literally a banned card. Don't want to talk about frogs. Tri-Brigade. I'm going to specifically call this as Tri-Brigade Sprite, which I believe is one of the better versions of Sprite, but not the best version. We're going to put it up here at tier 1.5. However, realistically, we could put this lower. If this is like actually just Tri-Brigade as an engine, we'll put it at 1.5 because I want to fill things in there. This is just Tri-Brigade Sprite. It's just Tri-Brigade Sprite. We'll have Sprite in 2 different tiers. That just makes sense, right? True Draco. Sure. Utopia. Utopia is used only as an FTK, and if you think otherwise, you are wrong. That's it. Moving on. Valence. Okay, we gotta talk about Valence. Valence is terrible. I hate this deck. I despise it with every fiber of my being. It is everything that I hate about Pendulums, in the fact that it just does the same thing that every other Pendulum deck does, and just monster combo. It's just monster combos. Just ban Electromite, and this deck is interesting. Or at least slightly more interesting. However, right now, it just ends on a Secret Village, as well as a what is it called? A Pachycephalo, which no one likes. You just can't special summon and you can't activate spells. That's great. That's fantastic. That's so very interesting. And it almost entirely depends on your opponent not drawing a hand trap or imperm. But alas, this deck sucks. It's awful. And it's also very inconsistent. Virtual World. Virtual World is slept on. Virtual World is still good. I don't know why people aren't playing Virtual World, because it still does shit. Anyway, not great. Not great. Slightly better. Okay, Rika. Rika's good. I don't know what you want from me. Rika's good. It is. There you go. Cool. Exosister. Exosister lost its only good matchup in Tier. Tier is not played a whole lot. I guess, like, Dragon Link's not bad, but Dragon Link can also just absolutely slap Exo because of a myriad of reasons. Because of the fact that it can extend into Oblivion, and banishing cards doesn't matter as much. So yeah, all in all, it's just not good anymore. It's just not good anymore. Dogmatica is a deck that exists, and this is a deck that exists. So, there's the list. Honestly, okay, I'm gonna switch up some things because there are a lot. I feel like there are a lot more decks up here. I'm gonna move Kashtira. I'm gonna move this guy up. I'm not gonna move this guy up. I'm gonna move. I kind of want to move all of these up a tier, but I'm not going to. I'm going to move these up into tier 2. This is way too high. Yeah. Now, granted, the difference between a tier 1 deck up here and a rogue tier deck is very small now. The difference is a, like, 53% win rate as opposed to a 48. 49% win rate. It's really not that much of a difference, right? And I'm just pointing out numbers. There's no associated number with any of this. This is just pulling stuff out of my butt. But all in all, I do think that the difference between a tier 1 deck and a rogue deck currently in the metagame is pretty small, right? Or at least these top rogue decks, right? The difference between Earth Machine and Sword Soul is margins of nothingness, you know, fractions of an error slice. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Anyway, it basically means nothing, right? There is very little in terms of change, or in terms of strength differential between these decks. And you can tell, this meta is incredibly balanced and diverse, which is terrible. It's so unbelievably boring. Not boring. Infuriating. Because every deck just kills you. Or just prevents you from playing the game. It's very fun. Anyway, that's going to be it for this episode. I hope that you guys did indeed enjoy. If you did, I like us very much, so appreciate it. And if you want to check out more content like this, as well as more Yu-Gi-Oh!, then just be sure to subscribe. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye. Shout out to the Frost Guard, my members. Thank you guys so much for the support, and I hope you enjoy the content.